All right, multi-step inequality story problems. We're going to write an inequality and then we're going to solve it, just like we did for equations. But these are inequalities. You need a mean score of at least 90 points to advance to the next round of a trivia game. What scores in the fifth game would allow you to advance? What variable would you guys like to use, and was it gonna represent, Brady? S for what?
X.
X. Used X. Okay. Why X? Okay. Specifically, the points for what? Nope. What scores in the, I'm reading the last sentence there, fifth game? Yeah, so it's your points for fifth game. All right, so we're finding the mean. That means we're going to be adding numbers together and dividing. And there's 5 games. So we'll be dividing by 5. So I'm going to start by adding the points we scored in games 1, 95, game 2, 91, game 3, not so good, 77, and game 4, 89. Instead of writing an equation that I'm going to have to write all that stuff out, why don't we go ahead and combine those now? You'll need a calculator. Xander, you already have yours out. What do you get when you add those 4 scores together? 352. Someone double check that before we do the whole thing right or wrong. Okay, good. We're gonna do the whole thing right then. 352 plus the points for our fifth game. All divided by what? 5, because there's 5 games. And I want my score to be at least 90, meaning it could be larger than 90, but 90 is the minimum. So what symbol do I want to use? Jacoby? That's correct. Greater than or equal to 90. It can be larger than 90. It can be equal to 90, but I don't want it any smaller. All right, so it's a big fat fraction. What do I do to both sides first, Lizzie? That's right. Multiply by 5. Undo the dividing by 5. So times by 5. Times by 5. Lizzie, what's 90 times 5? Okay. So if I'm going to get an average of at least a 90, I need to score at least 450 points for all 5 games totaled. I've already got 352. So Christian, tell me what I do next. That's right. And Christian, what is 450 minus 352? Might want to use a calculator. While he's doing that, I'm writing times by 5. I'm writing minus 352. You don't have to write those things as long as you have the inequality written each time after you do that stuff. 98. Brady, tell us what your X stood for again. Points. Yep, for the fifth game. So I'm going to put points, or if you want to write points for the fifth game, that's fine too. So 90x, our score has to be greater than or equal to 98 points. That's good. That means we'd have to score the highest on that game than any of the other games so far. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Number 2, find the number of $20 bills you can withdraw from the account without going below the minimum balance. So a couple things we need to get from this. Maddox, what's our current account balance? Okay, and what can we not go lower than? 100. Okay, good. So find the number of $20 bills that you could take out. Shane, what variable do you want to use for our number of bills? B. Okay, so B equals the number of $20 bills. So for this one, let's start with our account balance. We currently have $320. what happens to our account balance as we start pulling money out? Lucy? It goes down. And for every bill that comes out, Lucy, these are what kind of bills? Yes, it's going to go down 20 for each bill. Every time a bill comes out, assuming it's a $20 bill, our account goes down $20 until we get to our minimum balance. Now, I can't go lower than the minimum balance. So what symbol am I going to use here? Seth. Yes, has to be greater than or equal to, as Maddox mentioned, $100. So there's my inequality. First thing I'm going to do to both sides is what, Owen? What do you get when you subtract 100 minus 320? What is it? Nope. 100 minus 320. There you go. Now you can't have a negative account balance, or you shouldn't have a negative account balance, I should say. I guess you could, you don't want to, but you can't have a negative number of bills either. And so what's going to happen is we're going to get rid of both those negatives by dividing by negative. Everything's going to go back to positive. But Martin, what else happens when I divide a number, an inequality by a negative? Correct. So Martin, when you divide by negative 20, B is now less than or equal to 11. So I'll still be okay. My account balance will not go below the minimum as long as the number of bills I take out is less than or equal to 11 $20 bills. If I take a 12th $20 bill out, I'm going to get an error message because I just went below my balance. Questions? Number 3. The area of a rectangle is greater than 60 square feet. Find the possible values of X. Deegan, can you tell me what expression I could write that represents the area of that rectangle? Good job. Okay, so that represents the area of the rectangle, and then it says is greater than, which they couldn't have spelled it out any clearer than that. Put a greater than symbol, and then 60. So now I'm going to solve for X. Now I'm not defining that variable because X is just a value, it's just a number. It doesn't actually stand for any bills or whatever we did in the last points. So, but I am going to go ahead and simplify. Now there's 2 ways I could do this problem. One way is by distributing. What's another way? Deegan, I haven't heard from you yet. No, Deegan, I did hear from you. But you, okay, I'll let you go ahead and answer since you wrote the problem. What else could I do, Deegan? You could divide by 12. 12 actually goes into 60. So this would be one that you could do that on. That would just give you 2x minus 3, because that's gone now. And Deegan, what's 60 divided by 12? 5. Do I flip the sign when I divide by 12? Nope, because it was positive. Divided by positive 5. Hello? I do. Okay, bye. Christian, you're getting picked up. You'll find the rest of this on video. You can watch it when you get home. All right. So now we're going to solve it from here. And Carson's going to help me with that. Carson, what's my next step? Okay. And 5 plus 3 is 8. One more step. Garrett, what is it? Do I have to flip the sign when I divide by 2? No, only the negatives. Only so far we've only had to flip the sign once, and it was because we divided by negative 20. So it's only when I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative number that I have to do that, not every time. Garrett, what's 8 divided by 2? So if X is greater than 4, my area will be greater than 60. All right, flip it over. Number 4. How many questions are there? 7? 7. Forest Park Campground charges a $100 membership fee plus $35 per night. Woodland Camping Grounds charges $20 membership fee plus $55 per night. Find the number of nights in which Forest Park would be cheaper than Woodland Park. Okay. If there wasn't a membership fee, which park would be cheaper to stay at? Seth? Forest Park. They charge a lower rate per night, but they also charge $100. So initially, Forest Park is going to be more expensive. But because Woodland Park charges a higher rate per night, eventually it would catch up and Woodland Park would be more expensive. We need to find how many nights you could stay for Forest Park to be actually cheaper than Woodland Park. So Forest Park, and so it says find the number of nights. So let's use maybe, I don't know, N for nights. N, come on, frozen. N equals number of nights. This is with a NIGHT, not KN. These aren't like Knights of the Round Table. Although that would make this problem a lot more interesting. How many nights are there going to be at these parks? So $100 for Forest Park plus $35 per night. So 35 N. In order for that to be cheaper, should I use a less than or greater than sign? What do you think, Jimmy? A less than sign. Now you could make an argument for less than or equal to, but it does say cheaper, and it has nothing to say with number of nights that are equal to. Like, I don't want to know how many nights for it to be the same. I want to know how many nights until it's cheaper. And so I'm going to put the less than sign, and then Woodland Park is just no membership fee, but it is more expensive, $55 per night. And so I've got variables on both sides. And so when I have variables on both sides, I move the variable terms around first. Lizzie? $20. Is there a $20 membership fee? You are right. I'm going to add 20 to that, or you could have put 20 plus 5, 55 in. Yeah, thank you for that. I completely spaced on that. So I'm glad we got that. That would have been wrong. Sky, would you subtract 35 in from 55 in, or subtract 55 in from 35 in? Okay. So she's subtracting 35 in. Would you have done the same thing, or would you have done something else? I'm curious. How many of you would have subtracted 35 in from both sides? Whew. Sky is like, okay, good. Making sure I'm doing what everyone else is doing. And she's right, because that's going to keep the variable term positive. Why is it important to keep it positive, Xander?
Because if it gets negative, we'll need to divide by -1.
And you'd have to,
Flip the sign.
yes, you could have done it where you subtracted 55 in from both sides. You would have gotten a negative number instead of positive 20 in. On the other side, you'd have to put it as negative 20 in, and you would have to flip. We don't have to do that here. All right, so if the variable term is on the right side, we should move the constant term to the left side by subtracting 20. Connor, what's 100 minus 20? 80. So we got 80 over here, and then Connor, go ahead and divide by 20, and you get, that's right, 4 what? 4, what did N stand for? Nights. So if the number of nights you're staying is greater than 4, you should go with Forest Park. If the number of nights you're staying is less than 4, you should go with Woodland Park. And if it equals, and I know that we didn't have this in the question, but if it equaled 4, then I guess it wouldn't matter which park you stay at, because they're both the same. Now, for those of you that would have done it the other way, and you would have put the -20 in on this side, you would have got -20 in, and you would have gotten -80. You still would have gotten 4 when you divided. However, you'd have to flip the sign. Both of these answers say the same thing because they're both opening up towards the end, telling you N has to be bigger than 4 nights. I would accept either one. Number 5, you have 19 digs for your current volleyball season. Who plays volleyball in here? Sky, tell us what a dig is.
That's like a hit after, like, it's like a pass.
Okay, so on a serve, you're stopping, you're making sure the ball doesn't hit the ground. Is that what a dig is? Okay, so it's going.
That's not a dig.
Oh, it's not a dig. What is that? Who
That would
dominate?
just be a pass.
Okay, so if someone, the other team serves it to me and it's rocketed over and I hit it up in the air, that's not a dig? That's just a
Okay,
pass?
So off of a serve, it's a, yeah, so off of a serve, it's a pass. If you pass it over, then you pass to the setter. The setter sets it up to the hitter, and the hitter hits it to the other side, and then that would be a dig. If you pass the hit.
Gotcha. So it's like an assist in basketball.
Yeah.
Okay, so you passed it, then they come up and hit it. Because I know it's a spike if you hit it right to the ground, right? On the other side. I don't play volleyball. My terminology is not that good. But okay, so it's like an assist. You have got 19 digs to your current volleyball season. There's 6 games left in the season. You want to break your previous personal record of 37 digs in a season. Find the number of digs you'll need to average over the remaining 6 weeks, 6 games to break your record. So we're finding the number of digs. Let's use D. D is number of digs. So let's start with this. How many do I have right now? 19. And I'm going to get some more. And it wants to know how many, the number of digs you'll need to average. So how many digs am I going to have to get each game? And how many games are there left? 6. So we'll say 6D. What's the average number of digs I'm going to have to get times by 6 because there's 6 games left. And I want to break the record, not tie the record. Keep that in mind. So if this expression represents the number of digs I'm going to get this season, what symbol do I use? Jane? Greater than what? That's right. I don't want to tie the record. I want to break the record. So because I don't want to tie it, I'm not going to put the equal bar on anything of it. All right, Lucy, tell me what I should do to both sides. Subtract 19. So take away the 19 digs you've already got. Lucy, what's 37 minus 19? 18. So I only need to get 18 more digs. I've got 6 games to do that. So if you're thinking, Mr. Bright, doesn't average mean you're going to divide? Here it is. Here's where I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by 6 and figure out how many digs I have to get. What do you think, Emerson? How many digs are you going to have to average? Greater than 3. And don't forget to label. So if you average more than 3 digs per game, you will break your record. If you average exactly 3 digs per game, you will tie your record. I know that's not what you're wanting to do. So one of the games, you're going to have to get more. Number 6, the graph shows your budget and the total cost of X gallons of gasoline in a car wash. It's a lot of information. The graph shows your budget and the total cost of X gallons of gasoline and a car wash. So on the y-axis, by the way, this is a coordinate plane. For those of you wondering where we're going next chapter, here. This is a coordinate plane. On the x-axis, we have the amount of gasoline you're buying. On the y-axis, we have how much money that's going to cost you. That's what it said when it said your budget, how much money it's going to cost. Let's see what these lines represent. Find the possible amount in gallons of gasoline you can buy with your budget. Okay, look at the blue line. What does the blue line represent? Brady? Yes. How much? Okay, $40. Does it change? No. So what's that represent? Lizzie? It's your budget. Your budget's $40. The red line represents what? Xander?
A gallon, wait, gasoline and a car wash.
Yeah, gasoline and a car wash. And so it starts at 8. You guys see that? Starts at 8. It even says plus 8. By the way, we have a name for an equation like this. It's called slope-intercept form. It's a really, really big topic of next chapter. So this is slope-intercept form. It starts at 8. Why do you think it starts at 8 no matter how many gallons of gas you buy? Jacoby? That's the cost of the car wash. You don't even buy any gas, fine, still $8. Plug in 0 for X for 0 gallons, you're still gonna pay $8 for the car wash. And then it increases at 3.55, which represents what? Brady? Not the amount of gallons. X is the amount of gallons. What's it represent, Dawson? How much a gallon is. Sounds about right, doesn't it? 355 is about what you'll pay for gas. I think it's 345 is what I saw this morning. So 355 per gallon plus 8 for the car wash. It says find the possible amounts of gasoline you can buy within your budget. Remember, you can buy in between. You don't have to buy 6 gallons. You can buy 6.3 gallons of gas. It's possible. So we already have the expressions. 3.55x plus 8, that represents how much it's going to cost you for the gas in the car wash. We can get as many gallons as we want as long as the total price of everything does not exceed what number? Brady? 40. So it can be less than or equal to 40. By the way, find the possible amounts in gallons. X is the number of gallons. That's what I'm trying to find. How many gallons can I buy without going over my budget? Because I'm going to get the car wash no matter what. Start by taking away the cost of the car wash. Oliver, if you take away the cost of the car wash, how much money does that leave you for the gas? $32. And with gas at $3.55 per gallon, Maddox, how many gallons could we buy with $32 then? Your calculator says it's a big decimal. What does it say? Let's round to 2 decimal places. 9.01. So roughly 9, but we'll say 9.01, and that was gallons. Make sure we label that story problem. So as long as you're buying less than or equal to 9 gallons, 9.01, but that's really close to 9, then you're not going to hit your budget. You're going to stay within your budget, I should say. You may hit your budget, but you won't go over it. No, it's not. So what could you do instead of going with, well, I guess what could you go without then? The car wash. Yeah, you get a couple more gallons of gas that way.
Just do it yourself.
Now, it doesn't say if this is a weekly budget or a monthly budget. I'm going to assume it's a weekly budget because depending on how far I drive, I may use several gallons per day.
Maybe it's a lighter budget.
Maybe it's a
Yearly budget. I better be purchasing a bike then. Number 7, find the values of R in which the area of the shaded region would be at most 9 times quantity pi minus 2. What does that mean?
I think
Well, first of all, what color are they using for the shaded area? Okay. And what's the shape of the image that's not shaded in?
square.
Okay. What's the shape of the entire image?
Circle.
Oh, these are things we know how to take the area of.
Uh,
So it says find the values of R in which the area of the shaded region. To find the area of the shaded region, I should probably take the entire shape and then subtract out anything that's not shaded, which is the square, right? How do I find the area of a circle with a radius of R? Jimmy? Yeah. So pi r squared is going to represent the area of the entire circle. Now we're going to subtract out the area of the square. To find the area of a square, I have to know one of the sides of the square. Therein lies the problem. I don't know the sides of the square. But what?
Wait.
Jacoby? They are the same. I just don't know them. You had an idea. Oh, it went away. Brady has what? What'd you say? Has to do something with the triangle. Shane? Less important. I don't need to know how many degrees are in the triangle. Although I see what you're saying with the 360 for the circle. That's not actually an issue here. Maddox, what could I do? Oh. Nope. Brady? I do know R is the radius of the circle. No matter, yes, no matter what, it's R, right? Whether I draw that line or any line, that line's R, that line's R. Okay, sure. Lizzie?
How about why do we have to know this?
Because it's important. It's a brain teaser. Go ahead, Owen. So I would have to know the Pythagorean theorem, number one, but I would also have to know another side of the triangle, or actually two sides in this case, since I already know what R is. So you could, but you would not be any better off than where we are right now. The Pythagorean theorem, one of the most popular theorems in mathematics, helps you find missing sides of a right triangle. Well, Pythagoras did not. He spoke Greek, which actually all English is derived from Greek, so I'm not sure why you don't know it. And Latin. All right. What if instead I drew this? Oops.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Let's develop Jacobi's idea a little bit more. That square, which I need to take away, I don't know the side lengths of it, but I do know that there are 4 triangles inside. To find the area of a triangle, I have to do 1/2 base times height. Well, here's my right angle. That makes this the base and this the height. But as Brady mentioned, no matter what line I draw from the center to the edge, it's always the radius. So not only is the base R, but the height is R. And so to find the area of one triangle, I would do base times height divided by 2. Right? It's just I don't know the base and height. They're both R.
Wait,
How many triangles are there in that square? 4. So I have to times that by 4. Or, that's a good point. So I'm subtracting this out. Or, instead of thinking of it in terms of 4 triangles and dividing by 2, I could, like as Xander said, I could eliminate this 2 right there and call this a 2.
I know this all. I have it all figured out. I'm solving this.
So we're by finding the area of this triangle, which is R times R divided by 2, and then timesing that by 4 of these triangles, we actually have the full sized area of the square. Now, what's another way of writing R times R? R squared. So I've got pi R squared minus, instead of divide by 2 times by 4, how about just 2 pi R squared or 2R squared? I wrote the pi symbol. I should not have wrote the pi symbol. I'm not sure because I said it. All right. Now, that represents the area of the shaded region. Pi R squared representing the full circle, and 2R squared, not pi, 2R squared represents the area of all 4 of those triangles that make up the square. I want that to be at most 9 times quantity pi minus 2. So if I said at most, does that make 9 quantity pi minus 2 a minimum or a maximum? makes it a maximum. So I want the area to be less than or equal to that, so it doesn't exceed 9 pi minus 2. Now from here, this may not be any better off than what we were, but I'm going to give you a pointer here. Do you see how on the right side it says pi minus 2 in parentheses? Yeah, don't distribute that. Instead, we're going to do some factoring on the left side. What do both terms on the left side have in common, Xander?
R squared.
R squared. If you take out the R squared from both terms, that leaves you with the pi from the red term minus 2 from the purple term. Now both sides have a quantity pi minus 2. And so instead of timesing those out, we could divide both sides by quantity pi minus 2.
Yeah, I'm understanding this.
I don't understand what the issue is.
People get lost really early on, so then they can't follow what's going on.
Mathematics. Yeah,
Oh my God.
question 8, actually. Question 8.
It's gonna get harder than this.
Question.
Is there only gonna be some 7 questions?
Are you being serious?
It's just the easiest questions like that.
It should be easy from here, right?
No.
What's the opposite, Jace, of squaring a number? Square root. So if I square root R squared, I get R. Jace, if I square root 9, I get 3. So if my radius is less than or equal to 3, then the area of the shaded region will be at most 9 pi minus 18, or 9. Why wouldn't it be?
Why would it be?
Because it's the day.
Can you
before the
not
test.
solve it? We've solved tons of problems where you have to factor out R squared and then divide by quantity pi minus 2, right?
We've done a lot of things with square rooting.
No, that question's not on the test.
Okay. You should make it a bonus. No, make it a second bonus.
A second bonus, what's that even mean?
It means that there's 2 bonus questions, and that's another bonus question.